Hey guys, this is Allie from GhostGetExplorer.com, and in this video I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how I edit my photos using Lightroom. What we're looking at right now is Lightroom CC Classic, or Lightroom Classic CC. It's the desktop version of Lightroom, and it's the one with the sharp edges on the logo. If you look it up, you'll see what I mean. But this is built for desktop, and I'm using it on my MacBook. It's super helpful. To have the desktop version, I really prefer it to the mobile version, but I like the mobile version too for quick edits. You can get the same look with your phone as well. The mobile app with Lightroom is a free app, and this desktop app is $10 a month, and you get it with Photoshop. So decide which one you want if you don't have Lightroom yet. And with that said, we'll get started. I'm going to show you guys how I edit this photo. This is the after, as you can tell. I'll show you how to edit the colors, and colors is basically what I mainly try to do with Lightroom is update the colors. And with colors, it's my version of, you could say, like artistic storytelling. It's how I try to evoke a feeling or a vibe that I want to give with that photo, whether it's wanderlust or more of a strong city vibe. I just try to take the viewer with me. So think about who is looking at the photo and what kind of story you want to tell and what kind of vibe you want to put out. That's just something like I do when I'm editing, is like, okay, I want this to feel tropical wanderlusty. How can I kind of try to do my version of that? Okay, so once you have your photo, you've selected it, you want to develop it. Develop is the tab that you use to edit your photo. You're going to start from scratch. So this is a before and after. This is what it looks like after I've edited it, but I'm going to click reset. And this is the original image. So the first thing I always do is crop the image, and since most of my images are for Instagram, I do the 8x10, which is the largest portrait size that you can do, and then I make sure my whole body's in it. I think that looks good. I wish the whole palm tree was there, but I will just do that. Click enter. I think the angle is how you adjust it. You always want to make sure your horizon's straight. I think that looks about good. By the way, this original photo was shot by my friend Jake. He's a talented photographer. I will leave his information in the description if you want to check out his work. Okay, so first things first, what I like to do first, typically if I'm editing and I'm not doing anything from scratch, I like to use a preset that I've made. So if you hover over the left, you can see a preview of what the different presets look like. Basically, a preset is just a collection of edits that you've already made on a photo, and you just save it. So instead of copying and pasting edits or trying to get the same look from scratch every single time, you have something that already represents a look that you want to create. So you can do a couple different styles. If you just start with Lightroom, you won't have these, and you have to create your own presets or buy them online. But yeah, this just shows you how I usually start my editing process, is I use something that I've already made, and then I do some edits on top of that. But we're going to reset this again, and I'm going to show you from scratch how I do things. So let me crop, move it up. Okay, so I pretty much go down this panel. You have a bunch of different tools that you can use, and I don't use every tool. And for the sake of time, I won't explain every single tool, but you can always find people that explain like what things mean, or other tools that I might not use that you want to use. So I typically start with temperature. This one is down pretty far already for some reason, but I'm gonna leave it down and make it a little bit more blue. Usually I bring it up and make it warmer. I'll bring up my tint a little bit. Let's see. I'll bring it up to 3. I'm gonna see like what 3 looks like. That's fine. And down here, this is super helpful. If you want a quick edit, you can always do auto, and it edits the lighting for you. But I'm gonna undo that and do it my own. With this, I usually start with highlights and shadows. I always bring highlights down, maybe not all the way, but part of the way. And then I always bring shadows up. And again, maybe not 100, but I like to bring those kind of around there. I think I'm going to bring them all the way up. And it looks really weird right now, but I'm going to adjust the whites. I'm going to bring up the blacks. Again, this is just like feeling what looks right, and you can always readjust these after. I usually bring down clarity. I used to be really big on clarity. I used to bring the clarity and contrast up, but lately I've been bringing them down, and I feel like I like how that looks. Clarity and contrast. Okay, this is good for now. And then we are going to go edit some of the colors. Now, sometimes I use tone curve. I'm not going to use it in this photo right now, but I like the tone curve too. So you can see you can adjust the specific colors in the photo. So I'm going to start with blue. Blue is my favorite because I have a lot of pictures with the sky in them. So I usually like to bring the blue down and make it more of like a turquoisey color. And then I bring the luminance down as well because that makes it like darker and more filled. That's like the light. I'm probably not describing that correctly. And then I bring the saturation down a little bit. And then I'm going to adjust the aqua. I'm going to bring this up. Aqua is going to help adjust those colors here in the ocean. And then I'm going to bring, I usually do luminance next. Make that darker, and then saturation, I'll bring it down a little bit. Let's do orange next. Orange is how I adjust my skin tone. I have naturally fair skin, but I tend to tan pretty easily. So if you are similar skin tone, this is something you can do if you want to look a little bit more tan. I also noticed that sometimes in photos it doesn't bring out my actual natural tan as much as it is in real life. So sometimes I do adjust this either to make it look more natural or look more tan. Let's be real. Reds, you can adjust your reds are something that are interesting because some people with fair skin have red tones in them, so you can adjust it either way depending on what you see, how your skin kind of changes, if you want to bring those out or not. And then I'm going to do green. For green, I like to play around with this. As you can tell, either way, you can get really cool effects with green, especially with palm trees. So I'm going to bring this up just a smidge, and then I'm going to bring the luminance up and make it a little less bright, and then bring this saturation down. Now, let's see. Okay, should have said that at the beginning. Always make sure your brightness is all the way up when you're editing. Now I'm going to go back and adjust a few things here because I feel like maybe I don't necessarily need, I don't know, I'm not done yet, but okay, back to here. Okay, so I'm going through all these colors. Let's see, let's do I have yellows? Yellow is something that can also affect sand, grass, trees, anything that's green, because there's yellows in that too. Okay, let's make that a little bit darker. Bring the saturation down. Let's do magenta. Let's bring this up. I don't always do magenta or this, what is this, pink? But sometimes I like it. Let's do purple. Yep. Split toning is something that you can use to change the highlights or the shadows. So if you choose a color, you can notice that that can change the tint, kind of. Maybe not the tint, that might not be the right word, but this is nice for like sunsets or anything that you want to kind of give you more of a color to. You can do this with shadows too. You can try to play around with it, and then you can bring the saturation down to make it look a little more natural. But I won't do that for this photo because I don't do that with everything. So bring this back down to 0. Okay. Detail is something that I do sometimes, but not always. So sharpening, I have it on 25. I may or may not bring that up. I'll bring it up to 25, but if you do it over sharpened, then it just looks like super, it looks like a little fake. So you can see how sharp that looks. So I'm going to bring this down. I usually do it between 10 to 30 if I do any sharpening at all. Okay, so profile corrections, you can do this based on which camera you have. So this was taken on Jake's Sony. Okay, moving down. So I don't do vignetting always. Sometimes I do grain, but not always. And then sometimes I adjust the reds, greens, and blues. So if you're not super satisfied with this, like I'm not happy with this final result yet, I like to do some of these. But if you go a little crazy, they can look a little dramatic and like weird looking. So just be careful with these sometimes. Okay, let's see. Let's do the red first. Or actually, I'll bring up the shadows. I think I'm gonna bring, let's bring this down a little bit. So it's already making it a little bit different. And then for red primary, I'm gonna bring this up to about 33, 35. I'm gonna bring the saturation for that up. Ooh, that looks really weird. But usually it evens out a little bit if you adjust these ones. So I'm gonna bring the green up and see what happens. And then maybe the saturation down. And then the blue. Ooh, let's bring that down a little bit. And then let's bring the saturation for that down. Okay. I want to adjust these a little bit more. So if you want to do just your body, say if I wanted myself to pop more, I'll actually show you. I don't know if I did this on this picture, but I'll do it now. So I'm using the selection brush, and then I like to show the mask overlay, so that basically shows you what your brush is going to be editing. And I'm going to just do this on my body, and it won't look right at the end. It's just showing you what you're selecting and isolating for these next edits. So I'm going to uncheck that so I can see what I'm doing. You can change these. I have contrast, but I like the contrast, and I kind of do a little bit opposite of what I did on the photo. By using the selection brush on you, or whatever part of the image you want to pop more, you can just basically quickly just change the lighting to be opposite of what you did in the main photo, and that's going to make your subject stand out a little bit more. So I could bring the shadows down, can bring clarity up, can bring saturation up. I don't think I did any saturation actually. No, let's bring that up just a smidge. Let's add a little bit of sharpness. Actually, I don't like that saturation, so I'm going to double click and bring it back to 0. Let's see, do I want any more tint? Yeah, like a little bit. Let's see. What do we like? That's good. It doesn't look that different than the original, but you'll notice if you scroll down to your edits, this is the history of what you've been doing. So this is all the stuff I've been doing. So if I click on a previous edit, like before I added the selection brush, the brush stroke, let's see, I did black clipping. So you can see a difference with, boom, it's not too big of a difference, but it does help make yourself pop. So let's look at our before and after. So we can see the edits and the changes that we've made. And you can also see before and after. If you're on Mac, right above the enter key, there's a slash. So you can tap that, and then you can see the before. I like to do this to make sure it doesn't look too different from the original. I still want it to look natural, but I do like to add some colors. Okay, so I think this is good. I think I like this a lot. And now I'm going to export this, and that way we have the image saved. So export, you go to File, Export, and then I have one called Lightroom Edits. I'm going to save this as Puerto Viejo palm tree, and click export, and then now it's saving. Okay, so hopefully you guys found this helpful. Just a quick basic tutorial of how I edit my photos on Lightroom. using all the different tools and just playing around with it. As you can see, a lot of this is just experimentation by just going through, seeing what looks right to you, what looks good, going back and making more adjustments. But I'm pretty happy with how this photo turned out. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.